We have been praying starting from the consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And then these past few days we have been taking the different apparitions of the Blessed Mother and the messages that come with it, the official apparitions that have been declared valid by the Church, and not putting down any of the others as well. Those are more apparitions that the Church is still pondering over, and therefore we are not dealing with it now. But taking the ones that the Church has already declared, has officially declared as being valid and has enough proof and credibility that it is actually a miracle. Today we shall take the very popular and much loved devotion and veneration of the Blessed Mother, Our Lady of Guadalupe. Honestly speaking, I barely knew about this devotion till I saw, or I got to hear that the Archbishop of Melbourne, when he was in Sydney, when he was in Broken Bay, the Bishop of Broken Bay, and he, I think, has chosen the Our Lady of Guadalupe as one he's very affectionate about. And that's the first time I actually even heard about Our Lady of Guadalupe. I didn't even know about Our Lady of Guadalupe. But apart from that, when I was in the parish in Doveton in Melbourne, the Spanish community has a great devotion to Our Lady of Guadalupe for obvious reasons. This is something that happened in Mexico, and so the Spanish are all connected deeply to Our Lady of Guadalupe. But even though that was always there, honestly, I don't think I even still went deeper into understanding Our Lady of Guadalupe and what the message actually means and what that portrait means, because you take the portrait and sometimes it doesn't look as flashy as many of the other portraits of the Blessed Mother. Take Fatima or Lourdes or anything. All the others have so much more color, and this seems not to have too much of color. So the original one is what would have been shown to you as a half picture. That is the original. That's the original color. The other one has a bit more. It's a bit more brighter, and I'll tell you why I chose the one that's a bit more brighter, just to give you an understanding of what that portrait means. So let's understand what the Marian apparition at Guadalupe actually meant. This happened in the winter of 1531, when the Blessed Mother appeared to Saint Juan Diego, a humble Mexican Indian peasant, and gave him an instruction that he is to go and tell the local bishop that a basilica should be made in that particular place in honor of Our Lady. Now imagine a young man going to a bishop and telling him that I got a vision of the Blessed Mother who has asked for a basilica to be made for her. And obviously the bishop rejected it, and the bishop asked him to give proof. If it is true, then the Blessed Mother will give a sign, is what the bishop said. And so when Saint Juan spoke to the Blessed Mother about this, she told him to go up to the stony summit of Tepeyac, and I hope I'm getting the pronunciations right, and he would go there, and when he went there, he finds miraculous blooming roses. These roses are not found in that region, and so Juan takes this. He's also known as Montiago. So Montiago takes this into his cloak, these roses, and this is going to be a sign that the Blessed Mother has appeared and asked for the basilica to be made. So he takes these roses and he places it in his cloak, or what they call as the tilma, and he places it in the cloak and he takes it to the bishop. Apparently at 6:45 in the morning is when he goes to the bishop with this with the roses inside the tilma, his cloak. And when he goes there and he opens the cloak and he opens the tilma and shows it to the bishop, on that tilma, on that cloak, is imprinted this beautiful image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. There was nothing before that, but now there is this beautiful image of Our Lady of Guadalupe that has been depicted on that. The tilma of Juan or Montiago, the cloak, was made of a cactus material. Apparently, this cactus material at the most can last for around 15 to 30 years, not more than that. Now it's more than 500 years, and that tilma remains without having any damage on it. Even by mistake, a scientist put nitric acid on it, it fell, and still there was no damage to that tilma. Even today, in spite of all for a large portion of time, there was no glass covering even for the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. People used to come and light candles, and the candle wax and everything being around it, there was no damage. 500 years, and that is still intact without having any problems at all. The paint that was used for the image, as scientists have discovered, that paint is not any animal paint or any synthetic paint. When they closely look at the image and they try to understand what kind of paint it is, there aren't even strokes of the brushes on it. And as would normally happen with paint falling on fabric, where the fabric absorbs the paint, that has not happened as well. It looks like it is one stroke, not strokes of paint that has been put on a fabric, just one stroke. And that is how this tilma, this cloak, is still there today. Our Lady of Guadalupe. But I'm going to divide today's reflection on Our Lady of Guadalupe into two. Tomorrow we will continue with the second part. Today I'll focus just on the eyes of the Blessed Mother in the picturization on that tilma. The eyes of the Blessed Mother in 1929, in that image, Alfonso, the official photographer of the old basilica in Mexico City, he said he discovered a clear image of a bearded man that is reflected in the right eye of the Virgin. If you ever were to look at this picture of Our Lady of Guadalupe, to see the eyes and what is inside the eye is very difficult. So we are talking about a picturization that has taken place in 1500s. So that is nearly 500 years old. It is only in 1929 when the photographer, closely using more modern ways of photography, was able to look at the eyes of the Blessed Mother, sees a clear image of a bearded man that is reflected. He informed the basilica about it. They said, keep it quiet for some time. Later on, ophthalmologists found in 1956, Dr. Raphael, he examined the eyes through what is called as an ophthalmoscope. And in great detail, he observed the eyes of the Blessed Mother, and he says that there is an apparent human figure in the corneas of both the eyes, and the location and distortion of a normal human eye that would be connected to an image being there was noted in those eyes. And the eyes look strangely alive. When they examined it even further by Dr. Javier, he says, in the images in the Virgin's eye are located exactly in the place where an image would be in a live in an eye that is alive, where we actually look at someone, where the images would be in that picture, exactly in that space is where these images are actually seen. And the distortion of the images, he said, agree with the curvature of the cornea. So there are images actually in the eye of the Blessed Mother in the picturization of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Now, what about these images? In 1979, with a digitalized high-resolution images that was magnified nearly 2,500 times, they found that in addition to the human bust others had seen, there were other human figures as well. Altogether, 13 human figures are depicted in the eyes of the Blessed Mother. And what they found is, it is a reflection of the picturization of what happens when Johann opens the tilma in front of the bishop, and the whole scene is actually depicted in her eyes. It is like the Blessed Mother was looking at the scene of what is happening, of Johann opening the tilma, the roses falling down, the bishop being seated there, and all the people who are connected to it as well. Those who were there, there was an Indian who was seated, a balding man who they describe is an exact replica of the bishop. Then there is one with the bearded man who is most probably Saint Juan. There is a slave as well, a dark complexioned slave as well. And there were other people as well. And in the end, right in the center, there is a family of a man, a woman, and many children. All this depicted in the eyes of the Blessed Mother, just in that one picture of Our Lady of Guadalupe. What does that mean? One is, it is a picturization of all the people and the scene of what happened. And then it is the meaning that the Blessed Mother holds families very dear to her heart. And that is why right in the center of the eye is a family. So those who have been studying the picture of Our Lady of Guadalupe describe this and say, it is an amalgamation keeping in mind what the Blessed Mother said, that I am Our Lady of all peoples. She has come specifically to Mexico. She's revealed herself to a particular set of people who had rejected Christianity when the Spanish brought Christ into the land. But now she describes herself of Our Lady of all peoples. And when she describes herself as Our Lady of all peoples, it means from start to bottom, from the hierarchy of the bishops to the most simplest of families. She is Our Lady of all peoples. She holds everyone dear to her heart. Imagine a 500-year-old picturization, something that they've been able to understand only recently as they look into the eyes of the Blessed Mother, and eyes that seem to be alive, is now giving us a message. She didn't speak much, but her eyes have revealed much. That is what we say usually. A person who wants to convey a message, they don't need to speak much. The eyes will speak a lot. Here in this picturization of Our Lady of Guadalupe, there is a lot that her eyes is speaking to us about. That she holds every family dear to herself, bringing them closer to Jesus. Tomorrow I will continue about Our Lady of Guadalupe and give you some very stunning understandings, symbolic understandings of the picturization of Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's simply mind-boggling to understand what has been depicted in that beautiful picture. Only something supernatural could actually bring this about. At that time, we are talking about the 1500s, not even today's understandings, the 1500s, and what this actually means. So that we'll continue tomorrow. tomorrow to understand what that means, because that is what brings to completion what she gives as a message today through her eyes, that she's holding all these families close to herself. For what? Tomorrow we will understand. But she's holding all these families close to herself. She's holding your family. If that image at Guadalupe could have families hidden in the eyes of the Blessed Mother, imagine your family in the eyes of the Blessed Mother. That is a picturization, something that the Blessed Mother gave, and yet today, in reality, how your family will be right in the center of Our Lady's eyes, carrying us towards Jesus. So know and feel comforted that your mother does not forget your family. We made the consecration of the family to the most immaculate heart of Mary. Today, remind yourself of that consecration, that your mother now has in her eyes imprinted your family. My family, when I'm speaking, I know my family, my father, my mother, my brother, my sister, and their families. Now I'm convinced that they are imprinted in the eyes of the Blessed Mother. My Vincentian family, I'm so sure, is now imprinted in the eyes of my Blessed Mother. You be confident that your family, each member, their names you know, their faces you know, they are all imprinted in the eyes of our Blessed Mother. Let us celebrate that today. That great joy and that great comfort that my mother holds my family in her eyes, she will definitely lead us to triumph.